how to warp gradients in Paintstorm Studio. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a selection for the gradient. I'm not going to use the entire document. I could easily use the entire document. There's the selection tool, and I'm using a round selection. But I'm also going to use that little plus there. And what that does, it means I can add to the selection. So I can make more interesting selections than just a basic circle. So click that. Well, with that activated, when you draw the circle, what you can do, you can draw another circle, and that will be added to the current selection. So you can create some quite interesting designs quickly using that. Just go all the way around. And of course you could, there is actually a minus as well there with the, obviously there's a plus and a minus. You could of course select the minus and then cut in to the existing selection, which might create interesting designs as well. But you can build up a fairly interesting blobby kind of selection design using this approach. And of course you could go expand further out and just create more and more of those circles. So once you've done that, what I want to do, I want to fill it with something. I'm going to fill it with a gradient. But before I go anywhere further, I'm going to create a layer because I like layers. I love layers. So just select the gradient tool there. So you've got the gradient tool activated and you can see the gradients. But I'm going to apply it onto a layer. Just select the gradient before doing anything else. And there's a whole range of gradients, and also you can modify the gradient stops and create your own colourful designs as well. I'm just going to go with that one. Click OK. And I'm using blending mode of difference because that creates nice colour combinations. Normal's fine. Darken's fine. Lighten's fine. Difference is quite good as well. And also I'm using the radial option. There's 4 options available. So select that, and then like I say, layer and new layer. Layers are great because you can always remove them at a later point. If you don't like something, just remove it. And then just apply your gradient to that. And if you're not happy with it, just undo. And then just create it again. And then, because I've got difference as the blending mode, just apply it again. And then you get a slightly more interesting design. Of course, you could go to the filters menu and apply colours to that, modify it a bit if you wish. But I'm going to work with that. So I'm going to deselect. So selection and clear. So that's the selection's gone. And there you can see in the got layers, you've got 2 layers there. Well, I've got that layer selected. You can move it around. If you wish, you can always duplicate the layer, holding down the Alt or Option key and dragging. Of course, before duplicating it, you might prefer to apply a warp. So filter menu and warp. I'll duplicate the design later. I can also recolor it using the Smart Color Correction. So I've got that design there, and you can see you get a panel initially, a liquefy panel. And I'm going to set the resolution, maybe half, maybe a quarter, doesn't particularly matter. Just going to go with a quarter. It makes it a bit quicker to use. So click OK. And you could go with layer. I'm just going to go with canvas, perfectly reasonable, just as OK. Click OK. And there you get some options. There's a number of different types of warp. You can just drag and sort of drag it off there. And you can see it's a bit sort of pixelated. That's because I've gone into quarter mode for the resolution. And you can also, there's options like pin edges as well, which I'm not going to use because I don't need that. But you can modify the strength to make it a little bit more strength. Not much difference. Anyway. You can just warp it in all kinds of different ways. And you can change the size, you can change the hardness, but you can warp that design. But you can also resize it if you want to apply it just to a very, very small area. There's also other options. There's a bloat option, pinch option. So you can bloat it so it makes it sort of balloon out. Probably works best if you make the size a bit bigger so you can actually see it there. It's bloating there. And it just comes out from that centre. You've got pinch, and also you've got twirl. So it just twirls the pixels around or spins them. And you can see the design then sort of twirling as you, and you can move the brush, of course, and apply the twirl. You don't have to keep it in the same area. You can move it over. You can also change the size of there, also the strength as well, of course. And then you can just apply a very localized twirl. If you hold it in a single spot, you'll get a nice sort of twirl as it sort of heads to that central point. The brush. And you can apply that anyway, so you can get some nice curling effects. Anyway, you could continue to warp this in numerous ways, and I will do a tutorial about warping later. Run through all the features, maybe a bit better. But this is just a quick run through of warping that gradient. Once you're happy with that, click OK. And so you can see it's pixelated there, but it's now fairly sharp, which is good. So the move tool. Now, what I was going to do earlier, I was going to duplicate it. Now I could have duplicated it numerous times and then just maybe applied different warps to each of those duplications. But you can hold down the Alt or Option key and then drag to duplicate the layer and the warped design. And you can see what happens then. You can fill the entire screen with your warped design. So you can create a very unique, colourful gradient background very quickly using this approach. Very abstract background. And you can repeat this all the time. Obviously, you can just keep doing it and doing it. Fill the entire... I'm not going to do that. Obviously, there's a bit of a white over the other side. I could continue to fill it, but I'm not. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flatten the lot. And you can do that. Just go to the Layers panel and select all of the layers. So all the layers are selected now. Go to Layer menu and Merge Layer Down. Maybe it should be Layers Down. Anyway. So that's it. All becomes one single layer. Well, what can you do with this design? Obviously, you could save it so you can use it maybe in another application. Maybe there's a limited range of filters. The color selections are pretty good. I'm going to show you briefly that at the end, but you can, of course, go to Warp. And this time, well, I'll go for quarter, half, doesn't matter. Click OK, and that's the resolution. And then, of course, what you can do, you can use exactly the same as you used before. Just push that across, drag it around, and you can distort it in all kinds of ways. You can modify, obviously, the strength. You can also apply twirls. And you can see, again, that twirls around. You can increase the strength. So now, that was from a very basic gradient. You can create some very abstract designs, all sort of melting into each other. The twirl is very good for that. Of course, once you've done that, once you've warped it and distorted it in all kinds of ways, what you can then do, click OK. You could always cancel, of course, if you're not happy with it. Now it's a layer. Of course, I could duplicate that. But you can also go to the other filters. So you can go for maybe smart color correction. This one has a slight weird change in face. Suddenly goes very small. Very odd. But there's a number of super colourful operations there available. I'm not going to go through them in this video, but you can see a range of different colours you can change. You can make it more blue. You can make it more orange, and so on and so on. There's brightness, there's other highlights, etc. Okay. Lots of great features there. And once you're happy with that, click OK. And then you've got a new super colourful gradient design in Paintstorm Studio. Hope you found this of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphic Extras channel. Always have new tutorials about Paintstorm, also Photoshop and many others. Please add some comments, always appreciated. A dislike or like, thank you much.